Today's story is The Magic Chalk by Kobo Abe. Let's learn a little bit about our author. Kobo Abe lived from 1924 to 1993. He was a Japanese writer born in Tokyo, Japan. However, he was raised in Manchuria, China, which is important to note. So he spent the majority of his life in China and not Japan. He changed his name. His birth name was Kimifusa Abe, but he changed his name to Kobo Abe to sound less Japanese because during his early adult years, Japan and China were in a very bloody and violent disagreement, and Japan had military and economic and social upper hand on much of China because they were expanding into China, sort of taking over those provinces by force. And so Kobo Abe was embarrassed and ashamed of his Japanese heritage, especially considering his connection with China. And so he dropped his first name, which sounded more Chinese, for Kobo, which sounds more Japanese, because he did not want to be identified as Japanese, and he was ashamed of that heritage. This is a connection to another American writer. So when we studied Death Constant Beyond Love, we talked about Gabriel Garcia Marquez revering William Faulkner, who is a Mississippi writer. Well, Kobo Abe revered Edgar Allan Poe, who is another American writer. He liked this Gothic romantic writer who wrote many melancholic tales about death and psychosis and that sort of thing. You may be familiar with The Raven. And so Kobo Abe admired Edgar Allan Poe's style of writing, the themes in his writing, and so he adopts some of those for his own. And you might notice how dark and demented and truly hopeless The Magic Chalk turns out to be. Again, pointing back to his resentment for Japan, it was particularly because of Japan's occupation, military occupation of China between 1941 and 1945. Very quickly, the themes of this story: oppression, very obviously, not only class oppression, because we understand that our main character, Argon, is particularly destitute. He's a starving artist, literally. And so we see class oppression here and how he's treated and what he's lacking access to. We also see gender oppression when he draws Miss Nippon and has this conversation with her about what is owed to him and what his expectations are for her body. Immortality, this notion of wanting to live beyond the boundaries of physical life and biology. We certainly see that with Argon's character. And lastly, power, and him wanting to become more powerful, almost wanting to be more godlike, and creating a world and being able to dictate how that world functions and what that world yields. So we see these sort of distorted ideals of power in this story. There's a lot going on in this story. I want you to pay close attention to it, even if it doesn't seem to make sense, and be able to have a fruitful discussion and answer the questions of what you would do with your chalk. Pay close attention to symbolism as well. Enjoy.